rapidly as possible. So when you're designing your applications, most of us have this mindset when we design applications about, well, let's sort of figure out how much traffic there's going to be, and let's determine, can our application get that big? So we design for the ability to scale up. We oftentimes start at a small point, where small is not very small. Small is actually a pretty large application. We may have a bunch of functions, a bunch of calls, a bunch of algorithms, all within the same executable that we put into our base virtual machines. And when you do that, when you put things in the base virtual machine, you start at a cost point that's going to be perpetual. And of course, the clouds have means of providing you cost-efficient perpetual platforms, and there's going to be a lot of things that you put in the cloud that will have a baseline that you want to maintain and you want to amortize most effectively. But a very small virtual machine is definitely much more cost-effective than a medium or a large. And it's way more cost-effective than an extra large. So when you design your applications to put them into cloud platforms, and this is true for infrastructure service as well as for platform as a service, you want to design for as many small parts of your application as possible. And you only want those things to activate when they're actually necessary to activate. So I wrote a blog post about one of our customers who'd actually taken this to heart. And they've taken advantage of the caching services the clouds provide. They've taken advantage of CDNs. They've taken advantage of a whole bunch of routines and services that are available from the cloud platforms that allows them to have a perpetual platform of zero. This is really, really important. This company has a presence in the web all the time with a cached web page that people come and tickle. And through the caching of that content, they don't actually turn anything on in the cloud until you click through to those first few pages. The moment you click through for the first few pages, they fire up instances in the back end. Now, another one of our clients does a similar thing. They actually do have a persistent baseline presence, but this persistent presence is actually present in their own data center, where they can amortize that cost of that upfront presence that they have. But what they do that takes advantage of the cloud is that they will provide you as much information about the services they provide through their home site, and then the moment you say you want to buy, then they fire up the cloud. And they don't fire it up until they already have your credit card. So their footprint in the cloud is zero until they've already been paid. How many of you would like to be able to go out and say, hey, I've got this great revenue generation system, and in order for me to generate revenue, it costs me nothing? That's a really nice cost picture. Your CFO will love the margin picture associated with that. So when you're designing your applications, you actually need to think the other way around. Most of us naturally will think about how to make it scale out. It's not that hard, but it is a mindset you have to change to think down. So take a look at whatever you've got in the cloud now, or whatever you're considering putting in the cloud, and say, I know I have to re-architect for the cloud. Adrian showed us that Netflix re-architected to take advantage of the cloud, and most of the customers we talk to that are getting the most out of it do that. They re-architect for the cloud. But re-architect to go down, and re-architect to be off as often as possible. So when you're re-architecting to go down, look at the discrete functions inside each of your executables, inside each of your virtual machines. Are these things that all scale at exactly the same rate and respond to the same types of traffic in exactly the same way? If they don't, they should be separated into separate instances or in separate buckets where they can scale independently. And then take that independent scalability and tie that into your model for how you do load balancing. And be very discreet in your load balancing about performance thresholds that don't trigger new instances, but when thresholds come down, turn them off as quickly as possible. You'll be able to take bills that you saw going up in the cloud and start watching them go down while traffic is still going up. And that's really the key. And when you can get to the point where your consumption of the cloud is completely demand-driven, and when demand changes in an instant, so does your presence. That is going to be the key to success. Now, you heard the panel yesterday, which I missed, I apologize, talking about public, private, and hybrid. You absolutely need to be thinking about all of these things. And when we talk hybrid, think about platform as a service plus infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure service plus another infrastructure as a service. Because that gives you some of these same gains to take advantage of for down. If you put a small executable in Azure that doesn't need a virtual machine, doesn't need an OS, doesn't need anything else with it, that's going to cost you a whole lot less than a full VM on infrastructure as a service. So 2 words, down, off. Make it part of what you do. Think about how you do that here today and how you're going to take advantage of that, and you will win in the cloud. Thanks so much for your time.